Hi, Michelle. How you going?
Good, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here today and answering a few questions about ditching sugar.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
You've lost you on video footage though. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You got your video on?
Yeah.
Oh, there we
That's
are.
better.
There, she's back. Okay, cool. All right. So I wanted to ask you what your reason for ditching the sugar was.
Okay, so I have three children,
Mhm.
and since the day they were born, they've all suffered from eczema and had asthma. I suffered as a child, so my journey was trying to find alternatives to traditional medicine. I didn't like putting cortisone cream on there every night. I didn't like having pajamas stuck to them, and I would basically have to rip it off them in the morning because of all the weeping overnight. And so the gut, investigating that it was really from the gut, started me on that sugar journey. And also the most prevalent changes is not just the skin, but it was with my daughter when she hit puberty and their hormones, and how the sugar really affected her hormones, affected her weight, her mood, and just her general energy and life. And it was more prevalent in my daughter than obviously my sons. But that's really where that was the most prevalent reason with the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good reason. So how long have you been sugar-free for?
So we've been sugar-free for about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we did the full sort of detox, no fruit, no everything, just to cleanse the body, and then slowly introduce the small amounts of fruit and things like that. But there's no refined sugar. There's no sweeteners or anything.
Great. So that pretty much covers what steps you took to quit the sugar. How was that journey for you and your family? What sort of obstacles or difficulties did you come up, working on that together as a family? Just talk me through a little bit of how you approached all of that.
Okay, so it was pretty hard in the fact that I had a husband that was supportive, but not quite, very traditional. He comes from an Irish background, so it was, his upbringing was very processed foods. He was born and brought up in a pub, so it was a very highly processed, high carbohydrate food, which was very high in sugar. So that was quite difficult to get his head around it. And also, it was the I quit sugar thing really hadn't hit at that stage. It was just starting. The Sarah Wilson I hit sugar and things like that. It was just starting to make some murmurs. So there was a lot of people not understanding, in social circles and things like that the choices, and people were so quick to say, well, don't be ridiculous, it's not sugar, it's wheat and dairy, so that it was educating those around me as well as to what sugar does, and finding the information. It's so much easier now to find the information about sugar. It's so prevalent, between David Gillespie and Sarah Wilson and even Pete Evans with the paleo. I mean, he's so passionate about it, and people are becoming more accepting of it. Whereas 4 years ago, it was, like I said, it was really only people that were really interested in nutrition. It wasn't that mainstream.
Yeah. So you've done an incredible job to, detox a whole family on sugar at a time where the resources weren't as available as they are now. So how did your kids go with that process? How did they find that in their daily lives?
Okay, so my two younger ones they were great. So my daughter was really passionate about it because she's very interested. My youngest one was so young that, he ate what I gave him. The oldest one, he was sort of 17, so he was turning 18 and, getting ready to go to the pubs and whatever. So he was probably the most challenging. And I can't, and he's not perfect now, peer pressure, etc., and laziness. But look, he can see the difference in his skin.
Mm-hmm.
He sees, so if he goes out for a meal or goes out with friends, his skin just flares up. There is a tail.
It's my cat. I'm just trying to hide her because she loves the camera.
So that's probably he'd be the most challenging, because obviously being a young man, it's not as socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Girls they're used to, girls are used to diets and trying new things, whereas boys aren't. So look, as I said, he's not perfect, but the education's there, and he knows what's right and what's wrong, and he knows what feeds his eczema and what feeds his asthma.
Yeah. And so they're feeling the benefits of that. So have they given you any feedback on when perhaps they do have a bit of sugar, how that makes them feel afterwards, or how, because personally now that when I have some sugars, it's really sweet compared to what I used to feel because my taste buds. So has your children noticed any, observations that way?
Absolutely. They can't stomach it.
Yep.
They feel quite ill, and they get, they'll talk about how they just get so tired.
Yeah.
Or a headache. So they definitely feel the difference in their bodies when they do have something.
Yeah, that's fantastic that they've started off that awareness so early in life, because it will be something that they'll always fall back on. They'll know that if they do slip off the bandwagon later, or something comes up and they start getting tummy pains or headaches and that, they'll know to trace it back to the sugar. Whereas
it's funny, my youngest one, because he's 9 now, so he was 4 or 5 when we started this journey, he will ask now, has this got sugar in it? Did you put sugar in this?
Unreal.
So he's constantly sort of thinking in that process.
That's awesome. That's really, really, really...
So I'm too late. It was a bit late with the other ones, but they are aware of their body, and they are aware of how it affects them.
Yeah, that's fabulous. So how do you find going out to social events and things like that? What's your experience there?
Look, it's just the choices you make. When you go out to people's houses, when you go to restaurants, it's the choices you make from what you pick. You don't have to eat dessert. You don't have to have the sugar laden sauces and things like that. So there's always options, and there's always alternatives. And I'll tell you what, you don't miss out on the taste. You don't miss out on the beautiful fresh food by saying no to certain things. There's always fresh fruit. I mean, we live in Australia. Wherever you go, there's always fresh fruit. You just don't have to have the cake or the meringue or whatever with it. I mean, the fresh fruit with just cream is just beautiful, and some cinnamon on top, and so there are always those options. And to be honest with you, people are more aware. The restaurants we tend to go to are very high quality, sustainable restaurants. Friends always have, they always think about options when it comes to healthy. So, wherever we go, there's, especially when it comes to family, there's always fruit platters. And yes, there might be a cake or whatever, or lollies or whatever, but you don't have to eat them.
Yeah, it does become a choice. And I found personally that it just becomes a natural choice because you just don't want them anyway.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Well, that's right. Your taste buds change, and when you get rid of sugar, you go more towards the savoury. I'm much happier sitting down with a big bowl of ratatouille than I am with with a big bowl of chocolate and ice cream or whatever.
I hear. I understand. I completely relate. So, out of all of the benefits that your family's experienced in giving sugar, what do you think is the best thing? The best part, the best one that you've experienced, the most profound change, and something that's, to you, if you're going to give up sugar for one reason and one reason only, what would that be?
Probably the clarity in their skin. So, because that was the major reason. So, they've got this beautiful, clear, healthy, nutritious skin. And they question and educate themselves now, not just about sugar, but about good fats. They educate themselves about, good choices and in-season foods and things like that. We're not wheat-free. some of us are dairy free, some of us not. Wheat doesn't seem to have a problem with us. So it's not, this strict household, but it's about educating, what is good gluten, what's bad gluten. So probably the education, the questioning is the best thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, you've done an amazing job. Thank you for sharing that with me today. I'm sure there'll be plenty of women out there that have got families and are struggling, and just to hear that it is doable and that the benefits are completely worth it.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? Throughout the journey, it's not perfect. You have slip-ups. You're in social situations where you go to social situations where you really don't have a choice. But you know what? You just do what you can. Don't beat yourself up over it. And just make sure that you're back on track the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's terrific. Thank you so much for sharing that today, Michelle, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciated talking to you. Thank you so much.
No worries.